Welcome to another wonderful day, to another wonderful podcast. It's been some time since I've done a podcast. So, to be honest, I'm a bit nervous. And yeah, for Eli to be nervous, you go, what? He's very confident. I'm a bit nervous and my teeth are jarring. But I have a beautiful lady with me today. We're going to go through exactly how she helps many people who are neurodivergent and what her business does to help people also. So I look forward to talking to Dr. Anderson. Hello, Dr. Anderson. How are you today?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you so much for what you're doing. It's really helpful to a lot of people who are struggling with information. And you
Mm.
are really helping a lot of people.
Yeah, and I'm helping myself at the same time. I struggled for many years, so I thought, let's see how many people we can help along our journey.
Yes.
So, with that said, how do you help people in your life every day? And we'll take it from there.
All right. Well, I'm Reverend Dr. Addison on the civilian side, and I'm Chaplain Lieutenant Colonel Addison on the military side. So for me, one of the things I do is I empower people. Information is power. Knowledge is power, you know?
Mm,
So what we don't know can hurt us. And one of the ways that I help people is I help them holistically, mind, body, and spirit. For
mhm,
those who struggle with neurodivergence, it's just a relearning. It's a reframing of how they've been taught how to learn. And one of
mhm.
those ways is to look at health and wellness in a different kind of a way. And so I have a book that's coming out and it's called Feeding Focus. One of the things we
Mm,
learn is that children struggle, especially children in food deserts. So, like, I'll give you an example. I live in Claymont, Delaware, which is very close to Wilmington. And if you go in Wilmington, you don't see any grocery stores. You see poppy stores, you see corner stores, you see liquor stores. So
uh-huh.
there's a lot of processed food. There's a lot of hurry up and eat it. There's very little fruits and vegetables. There are no farms near there. And so you think about,
Mm,
what are you putting in your body?
okay.
How does that affect what you're doing?
Mm. And what made you go down this road to help people? Because you're not ADHD yourself. I'm just curious, when you don't have particular issues yourself, what made you focus on helping people just like me?
One of the reasons I do this, because I do a lot of ministry in the community, and so I lead with with a bishop, an organization called Interdenominational Ministers Action Council of Delaware, and we deal with a lot of
Hmm.
congregations who deal with a lot of communities. And as we're providing
Ah,
different resources, like we provide community support, we provide food, opioid epidemic type of things. One of the things we run into is parenting. A lot of parents are like, I try and tell my children this, I tell them that. In the urban
hmm,
environment, Black and brown children have a higher
hmm.
rate of being called neurodivergent. So they say they're lazy, they're hyperactive, all this kind of stuff. And what we don't look
Okay.
at is, what are we feeding them? What is going on in the
Hmm.
community? And then emotionally, what's happening? And so I find myself ministering to parents and pastors who have a lot of children and neurodivergent adults in their congregation. And so, how do we look at
Ah,
that through a faith lens to say every diagnosis isn't clear? And some of it couldn't be dealt with through that microbiome, through changing
uh-huh.
eating habits, fruits and vegetables. And so that's how I really got into it.
Okay, that's really interesting. So you've started helping people in that way. You then thought to yourself, how can I help further? What was your next stage of helping beyond that time?
Just to look at some practical ways. Knowledge is one thing, what you do with the knowledge is another. And so I can tell people all day, this is how you should do it. This is what's happening. If I don't give them practical application, then it's not effective. And so if I say your children need fruits and vegetables, however, I don't give them access to the resources, I don't give them
Okay.
a recipe for how to do it. Sugar is
Mhm.
addictive. And so if your
Mm,
child is addicted to McDonald's every day, donuts every day, cookies for breakfast,
mhm,
it's going to take
mm,
some time to retrain that. And so not only do we need
yes.
to talk to the parents, we need to talk to the school so that the school can
Mm,
then co-sign with the parent so that we can all be on the same page. It's going to be hard to do
yes.
when you live in a food desert. It's really hard to
Yeah.
do because then you have to get
And that,
into what is the mayor doing? What is the state rep doing? Why is there no funding?
mm, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not just the parenting, but it does take a village to bring up a child. So you're
It
totally
does.
right. The whole environment of what the surrounding of the child is very important because as soon as they leave the home, right, they go from one stage to another place. So having that consistency is really important, which is what you're trying to deal with. Now, when it comes to sugar, how detrimental is sugar to the system, ADHD and neurodiversity?
Well, it really begins to it gives dysbiosis. It's called dysbiosis in the microbiome. So your gut
Huh?
is your second brain. You hear people say, "Man, I should have followed my gut," or "I'm making a gut decision." Well, your
Yeah.
actual gut, your microbiome, is your second brain. So all of that sugar that's in there is causing an imbalance. And so you have good bacteria, you have bad bacteria, and if you don't feed the good bacteria and get rid of the bad
Hmm.
bacteria, it's going to
Hmm.
then change the other systems in your body. All of your systems are connected to your gut. So your nervous system, your mental health, all of that is connected to the gut. And so if we don't address what the root of the problem is, we'll keep dealing with the symptoms and we'll
Of
never
course.
address the root.
And when it comes to sugar, are we talking one type of type of sugar? Or are we talking about also honey and also different types of sugar or fruits? What are we talking about exactly when it comes to detrimental sugar? Because they come in different forms.
The challenge that we have is there are some sugars that are quote unquote good for us. The problem is when you have a lot of processed food, then
Hmm.
you have diabetes, you have obesity. So even
Hmm.
those good sugars are affected by the bad sugar. So you can't, unless you deal with the processed food, the fructose. There
Hmm.
was back in the day, I'm telling my age, we used to have Kool-Aid. And they used to have these
Yeah,
commercials, the Kool-Aid man,
that's
and he
right.
would come out and he would come out and we'd be so excited, the Kool-Aid man is coming. And
Yeah,
then the
yeah,
doctor said, stop giving your kids all that sugar. So then
yeah,
we had to adjust. So then what did they go to? Like if you give your child applesauce, that's
yeah.
processed apples.
That's
So
right.
there's so many things we got to take out of our diet. But then you got people, you got parents who are working 2, 3 jobs and oodles and noodles, you just pop it in the microwave. You got all this processed food, starch, sugar. It's just become a lifestyle. McDonald's has become easy. They made a $6 meal now. And if you're working 2 jobs and you have to feed your kids,
Mm,
you might give them some ravioli out of a can. And so how do we do? Because
mm.
spaghetti sauce has a lot of sugar. So it's just a challenge. It's a challenge because you have to rewire your
Yeah.
brain,
No,
your
I get you.
neurotransmitters,
No,
everything.
yeah, no, no, totally. I mean, I realize that, a lot of see, food is our medicine, and I've known that for a very long time. So when my daughter was born 3 years ago, and she's very young, I made sure it was a situation that she had as little sugar as possible, because at the end of the day, they don't know, right?
Mhm.
They're very innocent. So it's very easy because we find it hard to get away from the processed food.
Yeah,
We tend to feed our children processed food because we feel guilty. It's like you're trying to do the best to your child, but
yeah,
you can't quite stay off it yourself, you know?
yeah,
And I find a lot of parents are like that. But with me, it's a situation that I try and make sure that my child has only 20% processed of anything. And then everything else is fresh meals. So I totally understand that, we've got parents that are busy and
yeah,
I'm busy myself. But what we can do is make large meals on a Sunday, two
yeah.
meals on a Sunday, put it in the freezer, and it's easy enough to take it out because it's fresh. You know what's in it. And yes,
Mhm.
you're very busy, but because you've done the big thing on Sunday, then you have your two meals during the, and that's how you get round it,
Yeah,
and it's quite nice doing it like that.
yeah. Another challenge is just physical activity. You have children
Hmm,
now who don't go outside to play.
true.
Telling my age again, back in the day, we were outside till the lights came on. You could stay
Yeah, you
outside,
know
you
that.
play with your friends, football,
Mm,
tag, red light, green light. We did all of that. Now, kids
mm,
are on tablets. They're on
Yeah.
phones. They're not
Yeah.
outside playing. And so, if you take that sugar out, but then there's no activity, and some schools no longer have recess,
Yeah.
it's just a lot of things that causes that. What people say, their diet is affected, which causes hyperactivity, inattention, behavioral issues, and then they're quick to diagnose or misdiagnose children in urban environments, and
Yeah.
then also in
I,
rural environments. Because you think about even the people who are in rural places, they may not have a
mm,
grocery store. They may only have a Dollar General or like a corner store, convenience
mhm,
store, and that's
mhm,
not going to
mhm,
have
mhm.
fruits and vegetables either.
Okay, so when it comes to the diet, we dealt with sugar, and obviously the sugar's a big one. But what other things that affects our diet? Now, I know there's other things like e-numbers. Way back in the days, especially in Europe, I think in America there's still problems when it comes to e-numbers, but in Europe, majority of them were banned because obviously they knew it affected the body in a very negative way.
Yeah.
So, e-numbers. What other things, as well as the numbers, or does the even numbers affect our mood swings and it triggers so-called ADHD in that way? What other things other than sugar triggers us in a negative way?
I would say salt. You have the
Really?
very salty. Think about how you, well, I guess that goes with processed food, right? Because it's very high in salt. If you think
Hmm.
about like oodles and noodles, or you think about canned food like
Hmm.
ravioli, spaghetti, it has a high amount of salt, which is
Okay.
raising cholesterol, which is
Hmm.
also fostering some obesity and some, it's a trigger, which is
Yeah.
why we really focus on the microbiome. So we want to get more fiber, we want to get more probiotics, prebiotics, fermented foods. Those are the things we want to add to the diet, like yogurt, those kind of things.
Mm,
Because these other things, people say eat your greens, but you should really eat all your colors. So you should
mm,
have purple stuff and red
mhm,
stuff and yellow
mhm,
stuff and,
mm.
and
Balance.
orange stuff, right? You
Mm,
should have like
mm,
different varieties so that you can then feed those good bacteria in your body.
mhm. And when it comes to liquids, is there anything in particular with liquids? Because obviously, as you said with the Kool-Aid, now if I remember rightly, Kool-Aid was like it was like, what's it? Um, two parts water and one part sugar, wasn't it? Something like that.
Yes,
Huge amount of
it was
sugar.
very,
It's
and it
ridiculous.
was very inexpensive. It was very cheap. You can get 10 packs of Kool-Aid for like $3. And so it was just,
Wow.
all you had to do was add water and sugar. So for many families, that was cost effective.
My God. It's quite
Now you
worrying,
think about
really.
all the soda, you think about all the concentrated juices, it's not
Yeah, it's
good.
not good. No, it's not good. It rot your teeth away as well as your stomach. Yeah, for
It
sure.
does. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so right, so we've got the food side of it, and you said you're bringing a book out. So that book is going to entail everything when it comes to the what we've just spoken about, and then some. What's going to be inside the book?
It's really taking a look at what is being said about your child and how can we redirect it so that what we want to do is get away from all this medication. That's what we
Hmm.
want to do. We want to get away from the medication, go through some holistic things that can
Hmm.
change the dynamics. So the way that the book, it begins with an intersection where hunger meets hyperactivity. So
Hmm.
shame meets misdiagnosis. Like they're quick to say these children have ADHD. Now some children do, and other children it's really diet, it's really health. And so it's
Mm.
giving parents and educators creative ways to say, let me change what I'm doing. Instead of giving them lunch that's full of sugar
Yeah,
and bad things for them, let's give
yeah.
them a healthy lunch and give them time to sit down and go out to recess and not
Mm.
be in front of the computer and the tablet all day. So it's just
Mm.
giving some practical application for parents and educators of how to change the narrative, right? Because you got to think about these children. If they're being
Mm.
labeled, then there's also bullying in the school. And,
Mm.
and so you got these mental health challenges. You got children at young ages is thinking about suicide and committing suicide. So how can we help change the narrative and change the stigma around mental
Mm.
health and neurodivergent? How can we do that?
Mm. And we're dealing with the food, and we totally understand food is obviously a big, massive factor in the way we behave and etc. How we feel. But what about now with technology? We're doing a lot of online. Kids are focused, not really interacting with each other. Does that also act as a behavioral change that could be seen as a negative perspective, as if you got ADHD? What's the situation with that?
Well, you think about neural pathways, you think about the neuroscience of how we learn, and think about just
Hmm.
basic connection. You take a baby and you put them with their mother or father, and they learn a neural pathway about connection, what love is, what love is
Hmm.
not. If you take a child and
Hmm.
there's no connection, there's no affection, there's no affirmations,
Mm,
then they never
yeah.
develop those neural pathways. You take a child
Mm,
and you sit them in front of a tablet from the time that they're born, then their
yeah.
social skills are now there's a deficit to their social skills. They only have neural pathways that is connected to technology. So like
Yeah.
even babies, if babies want to grab the cell phone, you take the cell phone, they're throwing a fit. They don't even want toys anymore. They want, because you got to think about what's happening
Yeah.
with all of that technology is
Yeah.
making your brain do different things, and it's making it so that your connection to your neural pathway is to a machine and not a person.
Yeah.
And
It's
so
very
then
sad.
there are going to be many things that you miss. There's
Yeah.
something about us being socialized as humans that's different. And now with Chat GPT, this I mean, you have people who don't even talk to people anymore.
Yeah.
They just talk to AI. And so think about, what does that mean in human interaction? Think about, what does it mean during COVID when we were all isolated?
Yeah.
There's some people who haven't been able to come back into
Yeah.
society
You're totally right.
properly
Yeah.
because they just been, think about all the COVID babies
Yeah.
who that's all they know.
Yeah. No, it's very sad. The COVID, it was a killer actually when it comes to relationship, and not only just relationships, but just being able to connect with other people, just to
Hmm.
have a conversation with other
Yeah.
people. And I think what happened, it forced us in a box with technology,
Yes.
because it was an easy way not to deal with your emotions. Let's say, for instance, you find it difficult to interact and all those other things when you do a one-to-one with a person. People found it, actually, this is quite easy to
Yeah.
be able to scroll without knowing I'm scrolling and
Yeah.
scrolling and
Yeah.
scrolling. And it's a
Yeah.
very sad situation. And I find that a lot of children right now, they don't know how to have a conversation. They'd rather be texting constantly
Yes.
instead of having a conversation. They'll text for 20, 30 minutes nonstop.
And
And I've
never pick
said,
up the phone.
yeah, and I've said to my children in the past, when I see my children texting away or messaging away on their phone, and they're messaging for more than 2 minutes, I'm thinking, why don't you just pick up the phone? What you just done there, you could have said that in 10 seconds.
Absolutely.
I understand if you're going to say, I'm going to be late or blah,
Right.
blah, 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 blah. But
Right.
beyond that, just pick up the phone. Just say,
Pick up
hello,
the
how are
phone.
you? Okay, this is what's going on. Da, da, da. 30 seconds, that's all it takes, you know.
Yeah.
But what you learn in those 30 seconds is far more than what you learn texting away in 5 minutes. I think it's quite sad.
It is, because there's like, you can hide behind it. You don't
Yeah,
have to. They talk about this imposter syndrome. Well, imposter syndrome, you really can be whoever you want now,
that's right.
no matter what you look like. I know people who haven't been out of the house because you can get your groceries. I mean,
Mm,
you never have to leave the house now with
yeah,
Uber, and all. You can have your food delivered.
yeah, yeah,
You can
yeah,
go to church at home. Like, you don't
yeah.
even have to go outside.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I must admit, technology, as always, technology is a great thing, right? But it's how we use the technology, you
Absolutely.
know? It's as simple as that. It's how we use the technology. So, like for instance, it is a good thing to have your, food delivered
Hmm.
as a treat now and again. But
Right.
then if you can't be bothered to walk down the street 5 minutes and say hello to a few people while you sit down at the, local Chinese takeaway and say, hello, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. You have a nice conversation, take the food
Yeah.
away, and then you come back again. What a lovely 20, 30 minutes you had while picking up
Hmm.
your food. You had so many interactions,
Yeah.
who cooked your food, the person as you was walking down the street, and now people are stuck in their houses. They're now in a position where they can work from home. So you don't
Yes.
even have to socialize going to work, right?
Yes.
And now you don't have to socialize going to get your food, not
Right.
even going to get your vegetables, because you can get that delivered, and so on and so
Absolutely.
forth. And like I said, technology is a great thing. AI is a great thing. but it's how you use it.
It's how you use it.
AI is a tool instead of a person. That's a big worry. What you're talking about is you're totally correct. It's a
Yeah,
big worry. Very sad.
it is.
So, okay. So saying that technology, we told how we got onto technology, I don't know. Probably because it's close to my heart, for
Yeah.
sure. And obviously, starting with food is even closer to my heart. So when you're talking about food, I'm the man to speak about food.
Yes.
So, so going forward, what do you suggest that we do in general to significantly help our lives going forward in general? So we understand about obviously better food process, etc. But what would you suggest as a whole, as a 360-degree, a lifestyle that we should be doing in general?
Get more information. You know, the Bible says, in all thy getting, get understanding. We have to
Hmm.
understand where we are at this point. We have a new normal. We are never going to go back to what life was like pre-COVID and pre-AI. Things are forever changed.
Mm,
So we need to find
mm,
what is our current reality and how do we fit in it? What things do we need?
mm,
What things do we need to let go of? What connections do we make? What disconnections do we make? The whole way that we live and move and have our being has to be based on who we are right now. You know, that's why we do
mm,
meditation. That's why we do holistic healing, all of that, because it's not based on what has happened. It's based on what's happening now. And how do we move forward? Moving forward
mm,
now is I have to take all the things that I've done and understand that everything that's in the past is now new. I can
mm,
glean from it, but post COVID, we're going to be different. My mental health is different. My emotional health is different. My physical health is forever changed. And so everybody
mm,
has a context in which their life exists. And so we can give an overall general understanding, reduce the sugar, add the, take the carbs out. However, you also have to do some walking. You also have to figure out,
mm,
spiritually, where are you? Mentally, where are you? Emotionally, where are
mm,
you? And then we have to think about those who are leading, are they really dealing with what they need to deal with? Because you can lead people in a good
mm,
way or in a bad way. And if you're not dealing with the
mm.
things in your life that are affecting you negatively, you will lead people in a negative way. And so for
Yeah, of
me,
course.
it's that real mind body connection to say, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm doing. So as an Army chaplain, we have what's called a master resilience training. And one of the lessons we
Mm,
teach our service members is that what you say to yourself leads to your emotions, what leads to your behavior. So at any emotion in your life, if you pause in that moment and say, what am I saying to myself right now? You'll realize that your
mm,
emotion is following whatever you were saying. And then after that emotion
mm,
follows, your behavior is going to follow. So we have the ability to, like I said, redirect those neurons, to
mm.
retrain our brain. So no matter what we're doing, we can pause, think about what I'm thinking about, which is then going to change my emotion, which is then going to change my behavior. So we've got to get in current reality and say, this is what's happening now. And these are the things that I need to do to make it better.
That's really interesting, actually. It's quite deep, and I like the sound of that. Yeah, think of what we're saying right then, and that will just be a situation where we're heading.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And it works in
Okay.
every area of your life.
Okay, before we leave,
Mm-hmm.
what is it that you want to share with everybody that you know is going to be gold that they can take away? Go on, you know you have something you want to share. What is it?
Absolutely.
Go on, talk to
I
me.
will say to you that your gut is your second brain. And everything in your life revolves around what you feed yourself, what you feed yourself emotionally, what you feed yourself mentally, and what you feed yourself spiritually, physically. All of it is interconnected. We are a three-part person: mind, body, and spirit. And so
Mm,
the things in your life that you need to take care of, you need to take care of. And for those things that you need help with, you need to be helped. So it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to understand that you can't do this journey by yourself. Find
mm,
somebody you trust. Find somebody that is a safe space for you so that you can say what you need to say and move to those spaces where you need to move. One thing I always say, a hurt that has not been dealt with has no time frame for healing. And so you need to do what you need to do so that you will be okay. And what that is, nobody has a right to tell you how to move through it. Just like grief, it's a process. It's not a destination, it's a place that you move through. And so as we live in this post-COVID, in the thick of AI, you need to have some people who is a support system. You need to know that you're not in this by yourself, and that you can say to somebody, I'm not doing okay. I need some help. And then after you get to a better, healthy place, then now you have to go back and you have to help somebody else.
And wiser words were never said except by Dr. Addison. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I can listen to you for a long time, but I swore to myself I'd be disciplined to not do 1 hour or 2 hour sessions.
Very good.
Wonderful. And how can people reach you?
I am at Dr. Shellerine on Instagram, Reverend Dr. Shellerine Addison on LinkedIn. I'm a Shellerine Addison on Facebook. I'm on X, and I'm also on Threads. Okay. And so if you just Google, I tell you what, just Google a Shellerine. I don't know anybody else in the world with my name. And it's ASHELLARIEN. You just put that in Google and you will find me.
And don't worry, listeners, I'll have all the information down below, and you'll be able to click away and then connect with her. And if you need support, watch out for her book. Remember, the book will be down below, so you'll be able to click on it. So all the information will be there for you. And it was wonderful to have her on, and wise she is for sure. And we appreciate you. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me, and continue the great work that you're doing.
Thank you. And with that said, listeners, please like and share away, and sayonara. Yay.
All right.
Hold on a second, because I think we're still live. I think we are. Let's see if I can come out of this live stream. No. There we are. We're out.
Okay.
They changed it on me.